It's the day before the FA Cup final, and here we are as Manchester United fans talking about whether our manager is going to be sacked after it. It's not 2016, it's 2024. Yet here we are again in the same situation after reports yesterday confirmed that Manchester United had held talks with Kieran McKenna's representatives. Now, what I want to do in this video is run through everything in order, trying to get my head around it all, and just honestly, just give you my actual opinion on what's been going down. Because Erik Ten Hag, I think he knows what's going to happen. I felt that for a long time. Now, we're not privy to exactly what that is. The way that Erik Ten Hag has carried himself, the way that he spoke with Gary Neville, the way that, as I said, the way that he's kind of spoken over these last 6-7 weeks or so, has never really struck me as a manager who's actually kind of in fear for his job. And maybe that being the conversation behind the scenes that he had been having with INEOS. There's no way in hell, in my opinion, that INEOS have reached this time without making a decision on Erik Ten Hag. And it really looks currently like it's going to be a repeat of Van Gaal after the FA Cup final being replaced, more than Erik Ten Hag being our manager at the start of next season. That's just the way I'm interpreting in all the news. And the Kieran McKenna situation, right? This is something that feels like it's developed because of this, right? So we know that Chelsea surprisingly sacked Poch on the 21st of May. Then a day later, as you can see there, I've highlighted the date. A day later, McKenna was on Chelsea's list. He was linked with the Chelsea role, and Manchester United's interest has followed, right? A day after that, Chelsea are now looking elsewhere, going towards Enzo Maresca. And it was this article last night from Rob Dorsett and Sky Sports, saying that Manchester United had held talks with McKenna's representatives. Let's go down and read a little bit of it here. Man United and Chelsea face a possible battle for McKenna. United officials have met with the representatives of Kieran McKenna. Now, this bit's interesting when you go down here, right? McKenna's been on that short list, but we go down here. Sky Sports News has been told that McKenna's representatives met with the new United chief Omar Barada and technical director Jason Wilcox last week, where the prospect of him taking over the first team was discussed. Now, of course, the Chelsea situation's only happened a couple of days ago. Does that mean that Manchester United and INEOS were meeting with Kieran McKenna's representatives last week? That would make more sort of sense about contingency planning. Everybody does contingency planning. It's part of business. You can't just naively think that one thing's going to work and not have any idea about what's going to happen next. That's not really part of the problem. I suppose the part of the problem here is the fact that all of this is happening in the 24, 48 hours in the build-up to the FA Cup final. And it's not just from Sky Sports. What I tend to do with stuff like this, ideally, is wait a little bit, see what happens. Now, you could just say, Sam, well, it's Sky Sports, man. Their reputation's through the floor. They're not the bastions of accurate news anymore. And they're not. Sky Sports are reporting it. The Telegraph are reporting it. The Times are reporting it. And The Athletic are all reporting it. And in my opinion, there's no smoke without fire sort of situation. This is what the Telegraph's reports say down here. Man United have been forced to push forward their plans for finding a new manager because of what's happened with Poch. Despite the fact that the Sky Sports News said that we met with Kieran McKenna's representatives last week, there's no mention of timelines down here when you look at Telegraph. Informal discussions are thought to have been held with Kieran McKenna's representatives. And we go over here to The Athletic, and they're saying the same thing, right? Man United have contacted Kieran McKenna's representatives as they explore potential replacements. And this is the situation we find ourselves in. This is the situation that Erik Ten Hag finds himself in. On the eve of the FA Cup final, he's being asked by a BBC reporter whether he thinks this is going to be his final game. Us as United fans, the reason this is, I don't like this, is because I remember that whole Van Gaal situation. It was like smoke and shadows. It was sort of it kind of was backstabbing. Although I think Van Gaal would have been naive to think that his job wasn't at risk going into that FA Cup final. And then he found out, and then I think the fans found out in the stadium. They were walking down Wembley Way. Some were cheering, but it was just a very weird mix, especially when you add in the fact that we had won the FA Cup final. And now Erik Ten Hag is going into this FA Cup final. the way that I've always been approaching this news, with this whole situation with our manager, I don't think INEOS are making their mind up after the FA Cup final. I think INEOS have already made their mind up, which is why I'm therefore giving more credence to the idea that they may well be deciding to move on from Erik ten Hag, right? If we have met with Kieran McKenna's representatives, which has been said by Sky Sports, which has been said by The Telegraph now, which has been said by The Times, which has been said by The Athletic. Now, you could say, Sam, all of them are making it up, and maybe they all are. But I don't think that's the case. I think this is INEOS preparing for what life could look like post Erik ten Hag. And I think if Erik had been told, right, behind the scenes by Jim Ratcliffe, by Omar Barada, you're the man for us to be in charge at the start of next season, it would explain, in my opinion, how he's carried himself so confidently over these last couple of months, despite the results and the football and everything going against us. But now all of this is emerging, it's making me question that. And I think that's fair. I think it's completely fair to start questioning it at this point. I just don't like the way it's gone down, if I'm being honest. Lots of people, I've sort of maintained a couple of months ago, I maintained that Erik ten Hag, either way, it feels like we're going to get a statement from INEOS, either in support of the manager or in the fact that Erik ten Hag is going to be replaced at the end of the season. None of that has happened. And I wouldn't say you can argue the speculation has been damaging the whole way through, but I don't really think it's been damaging massively up until this point now, where it's now emerged that we have been meeting. Have United just been reacting to what's going on with Chelsea? Well, according to Sky Sports, we met with McKenna's representatives the week before. So no, not necessarily. Maybe we got wind of what was going to be happening at Chelsea, and we did expedite those plans. We did push those plans and accelerated them forward. But it all just feels odd. And I don't like it. And at this moment in time, we had a little chat on the live show this morning. We put it down as 50-50 about whether or not Erik ten Hag is... Well, we didn't put it down as 50-50. Lots of you thought he had no chance of being in charge next season. It depends who you speak to. Any United fan. But Erik ten Hag is now going into this game against City at Wembley. I mean, the cloud would have been hanging over his head in terms of his future and the question marks around it before any of this Kieran McKenna stuff came out. Now that it has come out, it just raises even more questions, which I think puts him in a very awkward position as a manager. There is a chance, ladies and gents. Slim chance, I agree. But there is a chance that Manchester United win the FA Cup final, that Man United beat City, and Erik ten Hag lifts his second trophy in 3 years and is then replaced during the week.